I stand here changed, and I'm changed here by you. And I'm handing you my life, and you can do whatever you want to do. Life will never be perfect, but God will never hurt me. I prayed the sinner's prayer, and I swear the Lord, you heard me. Forgiveness flows from the rivers of. See, I prayed the sinner's prayer, and I swear the Lord, he heard me.
My life was such a mess, and all he asked me to do was just to face it, and to deal with one thing at a time, and that he would be there to help me through it. And in doing that, what he did in my life, the way he transformed my life, is to me nothing short of he brought me out of poverty, brought me out of drugs and alcohol in a way that I have a hard time explaining. He was always there, and he gave me the strength to do the things that I needed to do to get me out of it. He asked me to do all that I can, and told me that he would do all that I can't.
That was a powerful video that Ben put together that we used at our church to tell people that Jesus is there for you. And once again, I'm sure Ken's going to close the service today, but I want you to really think about your personal walk with Jesus if you don't know him. I know Ben would be passionate about that. He did it all the time. And next up, we're going to transition. I know we could sit here for a while, but the family's going to have a few friends talking. The first is Peter Del Val, a good friend of his. So,
Well, when I was trying to think of what I was going to say about Ben, I have three specific things that I'll always think of when I think of Ben, and those three things are people, passion, and Penske's. The people part, the very first time I met Ben, I'd seen Ben around church. I'd heard his story, but the very first time I met him, excuse me, we were helping somebody move. And that's always great because the more people that are there to help, the better it'll go. So I met him, and nobody knew it, but it was a Friday night, and I had to move somebody again Saturday morning. And so me being me, I threw out that awkward phrase, we all stopped to eat, and I threw out that awkward, hey, if anybody's available, I got to help somebody move tomorrow morning too. And, heads kind of went into the pizza and nothing happened. And on my way out, Ben says, so, hey, what time? And I said, well, shoot, 8:30. And that's how our relationship started. And Ben, the people portion of Ben and the passion portion of Ben really were tied together. And you would know that because even that next time that we helped somebody move, we started this really random thing, which would only start with somebody like Ben. We decided to run while we unloaded, which is not normal, but that's really the way that Ben was, because he didn't just show up to help. He was covered in paint and had probably just gotten off of his work, and then he was there at 110% for whatever we did. I just before I flew here, I helped somebody move, and I ran. And I took a moment, kind of smirked upwards. I know it's not upwards, but still. And that's what I'll remember about Ben, is his passion and his people. Becky asked me to share, when we had our first daughter, Lily, we decided not to find out if she was a boy or a girl. And Ben let us know very adamantly that that was the dumbest thing he'd ever heard. Every time I saw him, so you're going to tell me? I was like, Ben, I don't know. But, it's not unusual for a girlfriend or a best friend to be at the hospital and wait it out, get the updates that are great for girls, not good for guys. Ben was at the hospital for 30 hours. Ben could talk the stages of pregnancy and birthing with any girl. Centimeters, all of it. And that really says who Ben was, his passion and love for people. And if he was your friend, he was your friend, probably above and beyond. The last one is Penske's. As you probably can tell, Ben and I have moved a lot of people together. Ben actually got to the point where he would call and say, hey, who are we moving this week? Or what are we doing? Who are we helping? What are we? So we spent a lot of time in U-Hauls and Penske's. And when we would sit in the truck and drive, we'd talk all kinds of stuff. Passion, people, Jesus. And we took some long trips. We've done 30 plus hours one way in Penske's. Both those times they were Penske's. So we came up with this saying, is that's a Penske. That was our saying. And it's kind of like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. It's what we talk about on the Penske stays on the Penske. And I've told Ben stuff that nobody in the world knows. And he's the kind of guy that you could. He's the kind of guy that could carry a weight if you were in the midst of it. And I apologize, Ben, but I'm just going to share one little thing. Ben kept his promise. I'm breaking mine, only in a very small way. The last trip we took, 30 plus hours, we talked a lot about Ben's struggles and what he was struggling with. And at the end of it, I didn't really have anything specific to say. So I said, Ben, I don't have anything specific to say, but I can tell you this, is the struggles and the things that you're feeling won't be forever. And he started crying. He says, that's all I need to know. So today I'm happy because everything that he was struggling with is now over. And it's pure and it's right. And I promise all the rest of it, I won't say to anybody. But that's the Ben that I love, and that's the Ben that I'll remember. Henry? Yeah.
That's a good-looking guy up there. First off, I want to say thank you, Jasmine and the Mullen family, for even letting me stand right here just to share something about Ben. You guys are family. Ben was family, his brother. We celebrated life together. As Peter said, he not only was at his daughter's birth, he was at my daughter's birth. And I know Sophia misses her Uncle Ben today. I just want to share a couple stories of Ben. I first met him when we went on this beach trip, and he had just got saved, and Lindsay brought him along. He had blonde, spiky hair, highlighted hair, his tattoos, and his gauged earrings. And I'm like, who is this guy? And the thing is that he just had to smile, and he fit right in. One smile, and he fit exactly right into our group. We had the greatest time, and from there on, he started serving with our church, serving the Pearl. We led. He did worship together with us, and then, he married Jasmine, one of my wife's best friend. And with that multiplied our time spending together, multiplied our time being with each other, talking, conversating. And, Ben was an awesome guy. So Peter had 3 points. I have 4 points. My first one is Ben was a man's man. There's only 3 men that I've experienced in my life that I would call a man's man. One is my dad. One is Dan Malman. And the third one is Ben Davenport. Why? Because these guys could build anything with their hands. Take a piece of wood, build a house with it. I don't know. Me, give me a hammer and a nail, I can't even put a frame up straight. But them, I don't know about, I'm sure a lot of you guys have been affected by Ben and he's probably painted your house, he's probably fixed your car, he's probably built stuff in your house. He's painted 2 of my houses, my parents' house, and fix doors in my house I didn't even know needed to be fixed. So Ben was a man's man, and his passion, I think that was one of God's gifts, was that he just loved to serve people, and he would do whatever it took to help people. Second point, like Peter said, his passion. I think if anyone thinks of Ben, one of the biggest words is passion, because he was so passionate about everything. You talk to him about anything from sports to music to whatever, he will just lay down you and talk it straight in your face and say, no, you're wrong, I'm right, cool. I'm like, all right, it's cool, whatever. But his passion was just so powerful when he, I feel like when he got saved, God just put something, he saw so much transformation in his life that he went out and just wanted that same transformation for other people. So when I look into the lives of the people in here, of our Pearl campus, of the leaders on there, my third point is impact. He impacted so many lives from the moment he stepped into our church. A lot of leaders here are because of him. A lot of leaders are in church still is because of him, because he poured out his life, he poured out his words, he poured out his passion, and he loved people so much that it didn't matter who they were. He would reach people that none of us could really reach, myself included. If you think about the people, if I think about people in our Pearl campus downtown, there are people on there that I don't think they'd be at church if it wasn't for Ben. Let's be honest. So Ben was impactful. And lastly, influence. Everlasting influence on my life, my family's life. Why? Because during the times that me and my wife, we felt like things were going crazy and we just needed someone to talk to. We sat with Ben and Jasmine. They just encouraged us. They just spoke words into us. They gave us books. They gave us music. They gave us things. And he just would know what to say and just know how to speak into your life. And he was so charismatic. He would just, one of the cool thing about Ben is that you put him into a room, everyone draws him because everyone just wants to be around him because he's just so, I don't know, he's like a magnet to everyone. He's a connector. He's an influencer. He's an impactor. So Ben is a man's man. He's passionate, impactful, an influencer. And I'm never gonna forget that guy. I've seen him at his highs, his lows and lows, and to this day, it is one of the toughest things to go to sleep at night thinking that I will see him in person again. But fortunately, 2 days before he passed, I was able to talk to him for about half an hour. And he was doing amazing. And the last things I said to him was, bro, I love you, man, so much. And I'm excited for what's to come. So Ben, right now, bro, I love you. I miss you. I'm excited for what's to come, and I can't wait to see you in the future. Thank you. William.
As you can tell on the video, I'm not really good at public speaking. So for the sense of eloquence and keeping composure, I'm going to read something I wrote about my friend Ben. I came to meet Ben on one of my first visits to CBC Pearl about 5 years ago. Seemed to be, by the way, remember also that English is still my second language, so if I get nervous and mispronounce something, I can do that. Seemed a bit odd. Tattoos, tight jeans, homey-looking baseball hat that hanged like on the side of his head. Not really the kind of individual that I usually gravitate towards to. Nonetheless, I wasn't aware that I just met who would very soon become one of my best friends. Ben had this inexplicable gravitational pull that defied my understanding. He was truly magnanimous. Wherever he went, he commanded attention. Everyone wanted to know him and be friends with him. His level of confidence was inspiring. I always had a notion that I was a very confident guy, but Ben made me think twice about my self-confidence. This was hard for me to understand since my human nature didn't really sit well with the fact that I could honestly say I looked up to a young hipster from Wasilla, Alaska. He is mad at me now. Through the years, I learned that what really attracted me to Ben was this extreme and utterly love for a real God and Savior. It was not usual for me to see it was actually not unusual for me to see older people raise their hands during worship, or guys my age who had gone to church their whole lives, singing along to worship and to the worship band. But when I got to meet Ben, I said to myself, wait, this guy actually believes this stuff. And he did. See, for me, it was odd that Ben had a similar rough past as I had growing up, that he truly had turned and met a God that surpasses all understanding. I was not trying to put some act or to convince me to go to church every Sunday. Actually, far from it. As time went by, Ben and I became closer and closer. We discovered that even though we were as far opposites in personalities, we actually had spot-on similar taste in music, movies, and our train of thought. We had great conversations as well as very heated arguments, as a lot of his friends know he liked to have. I remember that, that as I came to learn more and more about Christ, he gave and loaned me more books than I've ever had anybody give me, even though I told him I didn't like to read. He was also a very creative and talented guy. I go back to when he told me in confidence that he was going to propose to Jasmine. And he wanted me to get a restaurant, to have a stage where he was going to do this amazingly sweet proposal. I got to witness firsthand. He made this video with a cell phone and a laptop for his proposal that would put a lot of our proposals to shame. But he did it with such ease. I could go on and on about great memories of Ben and the later gang of troublemakers, traveling partners who we know in close circles as the DOT. It's the Davenport, Obens, and Trongs. Done a lot of stuff together. But my favorite conversations with him were really just about the gospel. He taught me how incredible and amazing, selfless God's love is for me. See, me and Ben both had the same struggles with life, but he always had an explanation of how God worked and how not to lose faith in the midst of trials. I saw in him the same love for people, and was always there for me. And he was always there for anyone, no matter what, no matter where, he was there. And he would actually convince people and sell them into doing the same thing for others. I learned a lot from Ben. He told me not to worry about what other people say or think, but just to focus all my attention on my personal relationship with the God that I intend to serve. I only wish I was as great as Ben in his worst day. I really wish I could have done more for my friend in his time of need. But God's wisdom surpasses all understanding. And I am left to pick up from where he left off. This faith I have now that he was so instrumental in finds me in the scripture reading the book of Thessalonians, where it says, "But we do not want you to be uninformed, brothers, about those who are asleep, that you may not grieve as others do who have no hope. For since we believe that Jesus died and rose again, even so through Jesus God will bring with him those who have fallen asleep. For this we declare too, by a word from the Lord, that we who are alive, who are left until the coming of the Lord, will not precede those who have fallen asleep. For the Lord himself will descend from heaven with a cry of command, with the voice of an archangel, and the sound of a trumpet of God. And the dead in Christ will rise first. Then we who are alive, who are left, will be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so will always we be with the Lord." My faith has granted me the joy to believe that I will see my dear friend Ben again. But until then, I will carry the torch with such pride and always remembering my friend. As you guys all know, Ben was really passionate about music, and I chose a couple of lyrics that really reminded me of him even today. It says, "We live and we die like fireworks. Our legacies hide in the embers. May our stories catch fire and burn bright enough to catch God's eye. We live and we die. Like fireworks, we pull apart the dark, compete against the stars with all of our hearts, till our temporary brilliance turns to ash. We pull apart the darkness while we can. May we live and die valorous lives. May we write it all down in cursive light. So we pray we were made in the image of the figure eight. You taught me the courage of stars before you left, how light carries endlessly even after death. With shortness of breath, you explained the infinite, how rare and beautiful it is to even exist. I couldn't help but ask for you to say it all again. I tried to write it down, but I couldn't find a pen. I'd give anything to hear you say it one more time, that the universe was made just to be seen by my eyes. And now with shortness of breath, I will explain the infinite, how rare and beautiful it truly is that we exist. I will truly miss my friend, and I know I'll see him again. Thank you.
First off, I want to say how grateful I am to you, Jasmine, and to family for allowing me to share tonight. And tonight I want to share my gratitude for Ben, to Ben for his friendship and to have known him, and in trying to figure out the best way to express my gratitude for his friendship, I thought it best to write some of my thoughts. So here I go. Tonight I want to honor Ben by first saying how I am grateful that I was able to call Ben a friend. For a while, I just knew Ben from a distance and as an acquaintance, but I was drawn to him, just as many of you were, and because something about Ben was magnetic. I knew I wanted to be friends, and so I forced a friendship with him when I invited him to travel with me and a few other guys to Seattle on a speaking engagement back in 2008. And after that, we quickly became friends rather than just acquaintances. Tonight, I am grateful for that friendship. Even when seasons of life caused us to be disconnected, it was easy to connect up and pick up where we left off. I am grateful for the many, many times we got to hang out, especially this last year in Denver. I am grateful for this last year where we got to pick up where we left off. The double dates, the deep conversations about life, God, books, relationships, hopes, dreams, struggles, watching Bronco games and YouTube videos, ancient mysteries, the laughing and finding humor in the most ridiculous things, the fun times. I'm grateful for it all. So what made Ben so magnetic? What drew me to Ben and just to want to be around him, to literally force a friendship with him? I saw him just at a distance, and I thought something is special. I want to be his friend. What was it? And there are so many answers. I tried hard to pinpoint it to just one. So many things have been said. But for me, what was the one thing, if I were to pinpoint, that just really drew me to Ben, to say, Ben, I want to, let's be friends. And for me, it was because he was an original, and that made him refreshing to be around. Tonight, I am grateful for the many times I was with Ben and left refreshed rather than drained. From being instrumental in selflessly serving me and my family and transitioning our lives from Portland to Denver, making me playlists that I wore out for months on end, to just being himself. He was one of a kind, a true original. Ben, I love you. Ben, I miss you. And I'm grateful to have called you a friend. I'm grateful that I will see you again and we can pick up where we left off. Now I want to also share a tribute to Ben from one of his good friends in Denver who couldn't make it here, but it's John Moore. And he sent me this, and I'm going to go ahead and read this from John. There are a few things I wish I could have told you before you were gone. First, you were one of the most fun people I've ever been around. You always had a funny joke, interesting story, or crazy fact to share. People loved being around you. I will always remember how you rallied people together, encouraged them, and served them, no matter if it was a small group helping someone move or helping with a construction project. You were there. Something I've always admired about you is your inner strength and confidence. You stood for what you believed. I never forgot the first time I met you. You were working on a house, and you told me how you had fully given your life to Christ. You had come from such depths of despair, and now you had this new sparkle of light in your eyes and a new excitement for life. No one could deny your passion for God, and people were drawn to you because of it. After we started working together, it became a daily routine of you picking me up in the morning. By the time I got out of bed, you had already made me coffee on the espresso machine and were playing a few rounds of Halo. Without you, I don't know if I would even make it to work at all. I always will remember our long car rides to work in your beat-up Cadillac, listening to the latest gospel rap you had discovered, all of which I'm sure to this day no one has ever heard of. I could attest to that. The many conversations we had on those car rides escape me now, but the one thing I will never forget is the feeling of being able to talk about anything, deep things, what God was doing in our lives, what we hope we to do in the future. No matter what I said, you always encouraged me and gave me so much strength. You truly made me feel like I could do anything. We had so many fun and funny times together, like when Juliana used us as hair models, and we had our faces airbrushed with massive amounts of makeup, only to have the book go around the world and be seen by people we knew. Or when we were roofing, and all we had for tanning lotion was baby oil, and we had to lather each other up. I will always treasure the memories we made and the good times we had. Your life was a gift, and I am a better person today having known you. Love, John.
It's really funny hearing all of these stories about Ben helping people and going out and doing construction, and I couldn't help but think he really was like a son, because it was difficult to get him to do anything around our house. But he did. I was rereading some of our exchanges that we've just had real recently, and there was one I was saying, come on, Benny boy, that garden shed has to be built and you're going to help us. And he did. So, but Jasmine and the mum and family, I just want to say how sorry I am for your loss. And thank you so much for allowing me to share tonight. So I had some notes because Wayne was going to be here and his flight was delayed, so he was out for the weekend with family, and Daniel's out of town, and so kind of Wayne's and mine are meshed together, and then I had a computer glitch, and so it's like this big to try and see anything. So if I'm like this, it's okay. Also, I just wear one contact, so it's really hard to go like this. So if you see me doing this, that's what's going on. So anyway, just Daniel asked Daniel, do you want to say anything? And Daniel just said, I'm too sad, and just that I miss a member of the family. And of course, that's what Ben was to us. He was like a member of our family. He's like a brother to Esther and a son to us. And so when Doug called, on Friday night with the news about Ben, it was almost more than what I could bear, as I'm sure the same with a lot of you. And I was home alone, and I remember I stood in the kitchen, and I just was paralysed, trying to understand, grasp, accept. It just seemed to be too difficult. So I stood there for a really long time, and it just felt like Ben was there in his normal place, Jasmine leaning on the kitchen counter and usually stuffing his face, and eating, but talking. Ben could talk, as we all know, and talk about his day and questions in the Bible, and this is right and this is wrong. And on and on and on. And it was just so real just to see him there again and then try to come to grips with everything. He just loved to do that. I first met Ben before he was a Christian, actually. So I knew the Ben before Christ and the Ben after Christ. And even before Christ, we had him to our house and had dinner with him and talked with him. And, you know, he was a challenge. He was, because Ben doesn't like the status quo and no pat answers, you know, will satisfy him. And then it wasn't too long after he came to Christ that he came in and became part of our family and lived with us.